I can't match the energy with my uncle. I love him. It's not going to happen. You know, I'm not going to be combative. Does doing Thanksgiving help you two get out of your disagreements before dinner so you guys don't argue during the actual dinner in front of the whole family? Yes, that's unironically the case. I have found out that as long as we have all of our debates on camera here and we keep it to here in the to the marketplace, then we don't actually end up debating on the Thanksgiving table, which is like somewhat of a cool and healthy way to approach it. And I suggest you guys do that with your reactionary uncles and aunties as well, if that's what you want to do. You got to do a crash out early on and then get it out of the way. Get the crash out of the way and then move on to dinner, you know? Please try to stay calm, but I'm 100% sure the guest on stream yesterday was actually Ben Shapiro in elaborate makeup to try and look like Mr. Gurga. Yeah, honestly, it was a weird situation, wasn't it? Also, this TikTok I watched last night, it was pretty funny. With the Twin Peaks music, it's so good. It's such a good song for that, dude. The worst part of Thanksgiving was him insisting that you be called something other than progressive left or whatever. Yeah, I don't know what's up with him on that front. Anyone who is in support of the working class in the United States of America, you know what they need most? More sectarian infighting. We need more labels and we need more infighting. And what we need to do is just like spend every moment with the limited amount of power, the fractional amount of power and influence that we already have, which is nothing. It's marginal. It's basically inconsequential. What we should do is use all of the finite amount of energy that we have is fight each other over disagreements. Him screaming, I'm the left. They're not the left. Yeah. It's just, you know, I don't know how much more I can talk about this. It's like, I think it's like wholly unproductive and completely silly. I hate to see Unk on Unk violence like that. Unk Shaky Gurga coming after Unk Sam Cedar. Not good. Didn't like that. It seems so unproductive to talk about this. I don't know how Cenk does it. Yeah, I think he's just like really upset. I like so much of his anger and resentment would go away if he simply stopped being on Twitter, I think, or stopped listening to any criticisms coming from Majority Report or anywhere else. What is this? Cenk is 100% cooked, bruh.
Majority Report jumped in, and Lance from the Serfs, and all the other little dirtbags jumped in, and they were like, no, Cenk and Anna are turning right. The 13 dudes.
Ay. I think I got to him a little bit, though, last night after Shaky Gurga giving, where I had a conversation with him, because he was like, why do you think, because you know, we were talking about, like, why CNN and all these other, like, traditional outlets are more receptive to what I have to say than him. And he always thinks it's because I'm hot and young and cool and hip. And he's not. He's old and rugged. And I was like, no, dude, it's because of the way you carry yourself. Like, I have my criticisms of mainstream outlets all the time. I have my criticisms of other commentators. I have my disagreements with them. But, like, the energy that you bring to any conversation, including someone like myself who loves you, like, I straight up told him, I was like, if anyone that I had actually talked to, anyone that I, like, quote unquote debated or whatever, treated me like the way you did, I would never, ever in a million years allow that. Like, I would never allow that to happen. And if you're having that energy with me, someone, you know, you love, your nephew, then yeah, I'm assuming you carry that energy with a lot of people you don't know that well, who don't have that familial relationship. And yeah, that breeds resentment, that breeds anger. And it's like overall very unnecessary, you know? And I think he got that. He understood that a little bit. Cause I was like, I basically was like, listen, I would never allow another person to talk to me like the way you talk to me. And of course it doesn't mean anything between you and I, cause you know, you've seen me shit in my diapers. Okay. Like, you're my uncle. I love you. But you know, if you're doing that to me, I'm assuming you do that to other people as well. And yeah, they probably don't like that. This was after dinner. Yeah. I think the thing about Cenk is that he's not like, a grifter implies that there isn't like a genuine attitude change. Okay. I think he's just like genuinely has a difference in opinion in the issues that he speaks on, where he's like legitimately more conservative on those issues. Whether it happened over the course of the last couple of years, but I don't know if it happened like super fast. But I think that there has been an attitude shift. And I basically tried to get him to come to that conclusion. Like I tried to walk through the steps slowly but surely by being like, there was a point where you were a fighter. You've always been a progressive fighter, right? You did not worry yourself about like what the democratic wishes of the base of support in the party looks like. You don't worry about that when it comes to Medicare for all, because you know that's right. And you know that if you champion that message, then like people will inevitably come on board with that. But it seems like for a lot of these other issues, you're willing to cast aside certain groups in the way that you communicate about these issues because you're terrified of the fact that there is no solution that the Democratic Party will offer them. And I think there is a crisis here born out of nihilism, born out of being a progressive champion for 25 plus years, as Cenk has been, where he is basically throughout time recognized that like no solutions are coming, no broad sweeping solutions that will tackle the issue exactly at the root cause, you know, fixing the housing market, adding additional social safety nets, after school programs and the like. So he's like, we have to stop the bleeding. And the only way to stop the bleeding is by being even more aggressive and being even more violent in our penalties. And that in and of itself is a terrifying prospect. That's when you cave to the reactionary in your mind, when you give in, and it's kind of terrifying. I think he envies you and it's poisonous. You're ridiculous, dude. That's my uncle. He does not envy me. He is very proud and very happy for my success. That's crazy.
Douchebags are right. We
can
need to protect every trans should get free surgery.
We got
even in China. Even though we don't have nothing to do with China,
you gotta
we
stop.
hate them. They're
You gotta okay.
I mean, I'm 100% right. Every dirtbag show did it.
You gotta calm
Every
down.
dirtbag show did it. Tell me I'm wrong.
This is reframing an issue that is now we've moved away from the electoral consequences of a trans ad to your own personal anger and frustration that you have with left-wing media online.
Look, the idiots are making everyone think they are the left. They're like, we're the left, we're the real left. Okay, we are super extreme. We want free surgeries for every criminal. Yes, we're the left. And
yeah, I just don't think that this is like, I think no one in this no one that was mentioned in this conversation has any real motion whatsoever in moving the needle. Like, no disrespect to anybody, you know, Lance and the Serfs, Majority Report, myself, or the Young Turks. Like, even together, we have no motion. The most motion that Cenk ever had was with the Justice Democrats, right? Alongside Kyle Kalinske. And that wasn't because of the massive audiences that they had. That was because they were actually, like the Working Families Party or the DSA in certain instances, like successfully moving the Democratic Party in the correct direction. That's what brought us the squad, right? And it came only because of, yeah, I mean, that progressive swing also happened because of Bernie Sanders too, which opened up the floodgates for that kind of communication. Yeah, Sunrise Movement too. And I think like getting lost in the minutia of you know, online commentary stuff is silly. I don't know. It's just not good. It's not good. It's not smart. American culture was far more left during FDR and earlier. Yeah, on certain aspects, you're right. On like adjusted to its time, on economic improvements, yes. But obviously, socially speaking, no. There were a lot of progressive policies that were implemented in terms of economic policies, but there was also a shit ton of reactionary policies that were also implemented for marginalized populations. I grew up watching Jake in high school, and he was a major influence on me politically, but I became totally disillusioned in 2016 and disengaged until I found your commentary. It feels like I outgrew TYT. I mean, maybe. I think that these guys also think that like there is a real amount of like audience capture that like those who are on the hyper left, woke left, whatever the fuck you want to call it, people like myself engage in. They can't comprehend that like I genuinely don't give a shit about trans people participating with cis people in athletic competition. Like I just don't care. And not only do I not care, but I also understand exactly where that anger and resentment comes from. And it's weird because like they also understand where that anger and resentment comes from. Like, yeah, so I'm not going to play along with that, you know? And I think every time you even have that conversation, whether in defense of it or whether you are there to like showcase how rational you are as opposed to these like crazies on the left or whatever, you're basically giving it more legitimacy. You're giving it more air. And I don't think that it's necessary, other than talk about how silly and insidious and ridiculous these bills are, these anti-trans bills are, by pointing to the madness of it all. I think that in and of itself is a much more successful strategy, like of deflection. I just don't understand why people can't see it the way that I do. And it's my fault. I should be able to communicate this a little bit better than I have. And I don't think I've done a good enough job. Every step of the way, there is going to be people that are not going to agree with whatever progress that you want to implement, right? People don't like change. That's a stable thing, okay? People love stability and hate change. I think it's our job as progressives to communicate why these things are, these attacks are silly, or why these things are not a bad thing at all, why these policy measures are not bad at all, if they are making it easier for people to be themselves in public, and it doesn't hurt a single person. So it's very frustrating. People don't hate change, they fear change. Our job is to educate people so they don't fear. Yeah, exactly. Do you think you can see yourself going even further beyond the Super Saiyan left? No, this is the maximum left position that I will be on board with. Who knows? It's understandable you didn't have the best answers considering his family. Yeah, I mean, I wasn't there to rip him apart. I think one of my biggest I think going forward, if I'm going to debate people, I'm just going to debate people that I hate instead of trying to have like a normal, polite conversation where I try to reason with them. I can't match the energy with my uncle. I love him. It's not going to happen. I'm not going to be combative. This means the end of Cenk's evening then, yes? No, of course not. I'll still have conversations with Cenk. No, we're going to keep doing Cenk's evening, chat. That's going to keep happening. I think Cenk is the perfect person to have these sorts of conversations with, though, because he can say anything and everything he wants. I will never not love him. You know what I mean? He's my uncle. So it doesn't change that dynamic at all for me, even a little bit. It's not it's not ever going to turn into, it's never going to sour my relationship with him. I think you two need a moderator next year since there were several points you brought up that just never got addressed. Yeah. Are you upset about Cenk's evening? No, I thought it was decent content. I wish he wasn't. I always get sad when I see, my uncle basically come out and yell so much. What is this? An uncle kicked his nephew's ass on Thanksgiving. John Molera. What is this? ACP? Cenk becoming my favorite lib on the internet is not something I expected to happen this year, but here we are. He essentially got us on to admit what I've been saying about him. He's held captive by the most vocal and woke sections of his audience. These people are so unserious, dude. And they just genuinely cannot understand that these are my opinions. You know what I mean? I yell at my audience on a daily basis. There are plenty of people that have the opposite opinion of me on many issues in my community that go above and beyond to be annoying. And I yell at them all the time. Anyone that's spent any time in here knows that I don't take kindly to wrecker behavior coming from rad libs in this community. Okay. And yet people don't understand where I'm coming from because I try to offer a little bit more nuance. And that is considered impossible to contend with. No, I'm so captive to my audience. I'm actually secretly right wing on a bunch of shit, but I just maintain this position for no reason. Even though, being openly right wing is very beneficial for me. Why the would I not do that if I had that opinion? It literally does not make sense.